Welcome to For the Record. I'm Michelle Wright. Today, 2 sit-down interviews you don't want to miss. I speak with State Attorney General Dave Sunday, while our Shannon Perrine interviews State Inspector General Michelle Henry, both discussing issues important to Pennsylvanians. Let's start with my sit-down with the AG. Joining me now is Dave Sunday, Attorney General. Last time you were here, you were a candidate.
I was.
Congratulations on your win. So much has happened, though, since you were a candidate, and so we have a lot to go over today.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
We appreciate your time. Let's start with U.S. Steel and the Nippon deal. I know that you say it's a good thing for our region. We've talked to the United Steelworkers, and they're very concerned about what this is going to mean. With your office, I want to know how you're going to handle their concerns and if you have any legal tools to protect workers here.
Well, through my lens as the Attorney General, the first thing that I'm looking at here is just a joy at knowing that we are protecting jobs and at the same time maybe creating more jobs. And be it that I'm the Chief Law Enforcement Officer for the Commonwealth, and one of my absolute most important focuses is public safety. The data is overwhelming that when we have jobs, when people work, magic happens and it's great for our community. With regard to protecting workers, that would have to be a fact-based determination. I'm not even sure what that would look like, to be honest. We have in the Attorney General's office, obviously we have a huge consumer protection division in the office, so we look at things with regard to consumer protection, but I really am not sure what that would even look like, to be honest. And
then let me add on to that with national security, because nationally a lot of people have brought up the fact if a foreign group owns a steel company, that would impact our national security, perhaps. So I'm wondering if your office would be handling anything, since it's going to be based here in Pittsburgh, or is that just a national issue? That would be a federal government issue.
Well, what I can say is that that's a federal government issue to start with. That's a federal government issue. Obviously, we have broad power in the Attorney General's office to protect Pennsylvania consumers, to protect Pennsylvania citizens, and to protect Pennsylvania workers based on the situation that may come up. I'm focusing, the initial question you asked, I'm focusing on my excitement that those jobs are going to remain here. I think that's the key to victory. I think we may have talked about this before, but long before I was even a lawyer, I was in the Navy and I worked at UPS, and I know what having a good paying career type job did for me, and I have joy that will continue.
In your new role, though, as Attorney General, we'll be following this deal closely.
Yes.
Let's talk about any type of antitrust, labor issues, environmental issues. Will you be willing to step in and handle that?
Oh, of course. That's what we do. And so what I can say is with regard to all of those issues, my office will be diligently observing, watching, being a part of it, speaking to stakeholders, and really understanding what all the ramifications are for Pennsylvania citizens.
Let's talk about the opioid settlement with Big Pharma. Pennsylvania's getting $200 million, is that right?
Yeah, best case scenario is around $200 million.
Where will that money go?
So just similar to the previous, to the prior settlement, it'll go through the opioid trust, just how it'll go through the exact same process. Counties throughout Pennsylvania will be the primary beneficiary of that. And so I know that I was on the other side of this for the first round when I was a district attorney, and I was very appreciative that I think it was 70% would come to the counties because, locally, your local district attorneys and your local county commissioners and your local citizens understand the needs for your region better than someone far away ever would. And so I'm very excited about this. Obviously, there's no amount of money that could ever right the wrongs that were done in this case. That the addiction and the opioid crisis has been one of the most just troubling parts of my entire career. It's a huge focus. It's one of the main reasons why I ran for Attorney General. Like I said, this isn't going to right all the wrongs, but it will put us in a position again that can hopefully immediately get assistance to the counties so that we can move forward, help people get into treatment, help people avoid drugs in the first place. And I just want to say this very quickly, and for anyone watching this that's in the throes of addiction, remember, long-term recovery does happen. I've seen it. I've seen it every day. I've seen people go into long-term recovery and have wonderful, healthy, thriving lives. And so don't ever give up. Keep fighting, and there's people there to help.
In February, Governor Shapiro sued the Trump administration to unlock that $2 billion, I think that was coming. You were one of the attorneys general that did not join that lawsuit. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Well, to begin with, that lawsuit came from the Democrat Attorney Generals Association, so to begin with. And so that's, a group that, on their own did that. Our governor, obviously, under the law in Pennsylvania, the governor can sue with or without my approval. And he chose to do that. I, through the course of my time as a lawyer, have I've developed an understanding that a lot of times you can remedy a lot of wrongs through negotiations. And so you have the governor suing, and he has the purview to do that. At the same time, I've been a voice for a lot of these issues directly to the administration, because remember, most lawyers will tell you the minute that you file suit, communication's done. That's it. And so we have to be in a position where we can communicate these issues. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, the administration has been very responsive to a lot of the issues that I've brought. And so that's. Can
you be specific about that? What have you talked to them about?
Oh, I've talked to them about, most of the issues I've discussed have been around crime. So I focus on my core competencies. And so there's a lot of, I will say, without divulging private conversations, which I absolutely do not want to do, there have been decisions that were made that through education and through advocacy have not taken the path that they were going to take. And so to that point, that's something that I certainly am trying hard to do. You have to remember, this is a new administration. It's the federal government. We have a very active congressional delegation, active United States senators, and they are best positioned to be in a place to be vocal on these issues. And so that's my answer. I also want to say that, and this is really important, when you have, and I mentioned in the beginning of our interview that every AG's office is different. Everyone is different. They have different duties, they have different responsibilities. Like I said here, the largest section is the criminal division. And so I am responsible for identifying and prosecuting child predators, for human traffickers, organized crime, fentanyl distributors, people that are committing crimes against senior citizens, Medicaid fraud. It is a vast and complex web of criminal laws that we are aggressively prosecuting. And what I don't want to ever have happen is I become a performative, elected official who is on social media all day. And when I do that, and if my attention is at all of these other things that are other people's legal duties, then I am not focused on my task that I've been elected to perform. And so I will focus on our core competencies in the Attorney General's office, because remember, when people are in other places, child predators every single day, all day long, are still trying to get to our children all day. It is frightening what's happening with regard to social media, with regard to artificial intelligence, and how that has impacted I'm going to say, the nefarious world of people that are trying to get to children. I'm the guardian of that, and I will not deviate from that responsibility for other things.
Still ahead on For the Record, we sit down with Pennsylvania's Inspector General. What she's saying about taking on criminals who are trying to steal SNAP benefits from some Pennsylvanians. Welcome back to For the Record. In our last segment, you heard from State Attorney General Dave Sunday. Now let's turn to our conversation with Inspector General Michelle Henry as she focuses on people who are skimming SNAP benefits right at the grocery store.
Let's just talk a little bit about the fact that you are from this part of town, this part of the state, and it's probably fun for you to be back here, but in your current role, are there some things that pertain to Greensburg, Western Pennsylvania, that are top of mind for you that you really want to get taken care of?
Yeah, well, it's great to be back. It always is. This will always be home to me. And I will say that I think growing up in this region, I've really come to understand what the people in this area value, which is hard work, fairness, and accountability. And that is what we do at the office every single day. We really hold people accountable. So when we're looking at state agencies and we're talking about taxpayers' dollars, hard-earned money that these individuals have given over, we ensure that it is spent with integrity and fairness, that there's no fraud, abuse, or misconduct. So obviously that impacts the local area, and we are always on the lookout for anything in this area that we can help with. For instance, skimming, which has become a real problem.
Absolutely. Tell me more about that. And obviously that's a statewide issue. Really, it's a nationwide issue. When I got gas with my parents the other day, my dad gave me his credit card, and I touched the gas pump thing just to make sure. Should we be doing that every time?
Thank you. Yes, you absolutely should. And I mean, that's the thing that we're looking at. So we are very proactive in doing these investigations, because part of what the office does is investigate these cases and prosecute the people that are behind it. But the best way is to prevent it in the first place. So there are steps that you can take in order to do that. One of the things that can happen is, when you think about this, these are for individuals who need this money, this benefit, to feed their families. And so when they go to the grocery store and they get their monthly allowance loaded onto their card, and they go through the grocery store aisle and they go to the card swipe and they pay for it. Well, the next time they come back to buy their groceries and they do that and there's zero balance, that is a catastrophic event for these individuals. And what the criminals are doing is they're placing a machine over top of that card swipe. And so that machine is designed to steal the data, which is their account numbers and their PIN numbers. And so when you think about that, these criminals can do that in about 4 seconds. They put these on, usually it's a team of two. One of them is distracting the cashier, while the other one, it puts this on, and then they're collecting all this information.
And they're doing it right in the grocery store.
Right in the grocery store. And it's really something. I think back when I was in Western Pennsylvania growing up, I worked as a cashier at a grocery store. And when you think about this and how much technology has developed, well, so must the criminals. They evolve. And I had a situation when we were in the grocery store when it was the same thing. One person came in and was distracting the cashier, while the other person reached in and grabbed the cash out of the store. Now, that was a big deal, and hundreds of dollars were stolen, but it is nothing compared to what's happening with skimming. Because what's happening with skimming is, once those skimmers are put on and that data is retrieved, and by the way, the criminals come back into that store, they don't have to touch the skimmer at all. They can be up to 20 feet away with their cell phone and their Bluetooth, and they upload all of that data, and then they have it, and they can take those benefits, and they can either make a duplicate card and steal from customers that way and buy bulk items. Often they're buying energy drinks, or they're buying formula or things that they can resell, or they're just right out stealing the data. So there are tips, as you said, that can help individuals prevent that.
Yeah, as Inspector General, what do you want to say to our viewers about trying to not be a victim of skimming?
Well, one of the things that's recently come in Pennsylvania, which is a really useful tool for recipients of benefits, and that is an app that can be downloaded. It's Connect EBT. and you download that app, and what that allows individuals to do is to lock their cards. So they can hit a button to lock it, and when their card is locked, nobody can make a purchase either in person or online. And so that's a really important tool. In fact, you can set it for automatic relock in 30, 60, or 90 minutes. And that's really a safety tip that individuals can use to lock their cards so nobody can do it. The other thing is exactly what you did. When you go to the machine and you're about to swipe your card, take a minute and look at the card swipe machine. Does it look a little bit bigger? Because these things are placed on top of it. Is it sticky? Does it not quite align right? Is there tape on it? Anything suspicious should cause you to stop and report it.
Is there going to be a time where you can use your SNAP benefits or any benefit at a point of sale with tap to pay?
Well, that certainly is something that Pennsylvania is considering, and obviously that would be a huge benefit and really reduce this, but it's not happening, it's not here right now, and so we're dealing with what's right in front of us, and our goal is to really try to prevent this and to stop it and to get the word out. So we appreciate being here today, and I think it's so important because these individuals, as I said, who go and find that they have a zero balance on their card are really in a difficult situation. They need to feed their families, and the federal government is not reimbursing them. So they are left with very few options.
Tell me about yourself. Tell me how this feels for you being Inspector General as opposed to your last positions, and what's ahead for you.
Well, first of all, I am very passionate about our mission. I really believe, I think in today's age we see a lot of mistrust in government, and I want to do our very, very best to give people back that trust, to know that when they are, paying their taxes and giving up their hard-earned money, that it's being spent and utilized in the way that it should be. So I'm a big believer in that, very passionate about it. I enjoy working with the agents in the investigation, and I'm a longtime public servant. So I am grateful for this opportunity. I was honored to be appointed into this position, and I'm really enjoying it.
What else do you want to tell Western Pennsylvania and our viewers for the record?
Well, number one, I hope that when we talk about skimming that they really think about the tips. In addition to the ones I mentioned, I think it's important to, change your PIN number, to pick something that is not so obvious as 1, 2, 3, 4. Check your account balances. And if you see something that you think is theft, please call the county assistance office so that they can immediately freeze your card and issue a new one. So those are some things, and as you said, be aware. Look out for it, because it's heartbreaking to see individuals who have to feed their family go through this. So I ask them to do all that, and I guess I would just say, know that we're here, know that we're looking out for you, and if you see anything, I welcome you to call our number or to reach out on our website, because we really do respond, and it's important that we work together with individuals, with other agencies to combat this.
Still ahead, what Inspector General Michelle Henry and State Attorney General Dave Sunday each have to say about the new Steelers QB, Aaron Rodgers. Welcome back to For the Record. And before we go, in our interviews with State Attorney General Dave Sunday and State Inspector General Michelle Henry, we asked something a little lighter. We sought their thoughts on new Steelers QB Aaron Rodgers. Two more lighthearted things. We'll switch gears completely.
Yes, I'll take it. Let's go.
The NFL draft is coming here to Pittsburgh next year,
Yes,
and
it
we're
is.
thrilled. What is your take on what that means to us here?
Oh, I think it's awesome. I mean, I love that the NFL draft is coming here. I think it's fantastic. I think that, there's so many, in Pennsylvania, I mean, we have sports fans like from top to bottom, left to right. And people are really passionate about their teams, especially out here in the Pittsburgh region. And so I think it's huge. I think that it energizes people. I think it shows that a lot of these big organizations and big events are looking to Pennsylvania to host them. I mean, that's big. It's huge. It's huge for the region, huge for sports fans, huge for the athletes that get to come here. Again, it also highlights, because remember, we just had the U.S. Open. We'll now have the NFL draft. We have the World Cup that's going to be very active in Southeast Pennsylvania. And so, it allows us to be in a position to highlight all the wonderful things that Pennsylvania has to offer. And so I think it's awesome. I'm excited for it. I'm sure you are too. Yep.
Last question, your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers coming to the Steelers?
Well, my friend, so over the last 48 hours, I've asked that question of people through every meeting I was in, at the Senior Expo. I asked it at the Butler County Prison. And so what I will tell you is the overwhelming feedback that I've received has been one of cautious optimism.
Okay.
And so that's what I've heard the whole way through. I mean, I think that if any of us could predict what any professional athlete would contribute to a team, then I don't think we'd even be in these jobs, to be honest. I think anything can happen. I mean, clearly, he's an outstanding athlete. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And so, we'll see what he brings. We'll see what he brings to the Steelers.
Okay, I really do want to know. I mean, there's a lot of controversy surrounding Aaron
Trust me,
Rodgers.
I've been waiting with bated breath to see.
Are you for or against this?
Well, look.
And is Mike Tomlin calling you and asking you for your input?
No, I bleed black and gold. And every season that rolls around, I am always optimistic and hopeful. And I'm hoping that this all comes together and it is a great season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know that I will be out there waving my terrible towel and cheering them on. So I'm hopeful.
I guess we'll have a better idea when Steelers training camp kicks off later this week. Players arrive at St. Vincent College on Wednesday with the first open practice scheduled for Thursday afternoon. We're back after this.